The story for today was sent by one of our viewers. Let's begin by reading her experience. My name is Sophia, and what I am about to share with you will challenge everything you thought you knew about life, death, and our spiritual purpose. On March 3rd, 2024, my life changed forever. What began as an ordinary day ended with my death for several minutes, and with a vision of a reality beyond this world. But the most shocking part was not just seeing heaven, but what Jesus revealed to me about Black people and their divine role. I was brought back with a message that must be shared. This is my testimony about what I saw, what I learned, and why it matters. It was a typical Thursday morning. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. I remember feeling at peace, savoring my coffee as I watched the world slowly wake up. Life was proceeding normally, or so I thought. I had tasks to complete. Nothing out of the ordinary: shopping, a quick stop at the bank, and a visit to a friend's house. It seemed like just another day. I recall driving on a quiet road with my favorite music playing on the radio when suddenly everything turned into chaos. Out of nowhere, a truck ran a red light. There was no time to react, no space to swerve. The impact was violent, an explosion of sound and force that shattered my body. The metal crumpled, the glass shattered, and my car spun like a toy in the midst of a storm. My last conscious thought was, this can't be happening. And then silence fell. At first, I thought I had simply lost consciousness, but something felt different. I was still there, aware of everything, but my body was not. I was floating above the debris, looking at myself. It was a surreal moment, seeing the paramedics rushing toward my lifeless body, their voices filled with urgency. I should have panicked, but instead, a deep calm took over me. It was as if I already knew what was happening. Then the world around me began to fade away. The sounds of sirens and shouts became distant echoes. Everything went dark. Not in a terrifying way, but as if I were being pulled towards something much larger than myself. My earthly life was fading, and I was crossing into a place that defied all explanation. The moment I left my body, I expected to feel fear, but instead I felt peace. It was like passing through an invisible door into a reality that had always existed but was hidden from human eyes. At first there was darkness, but it wasn't empty. It had depth, a presence, as if something were waiting just beyond my perception. I was not alone. I could feel a force guiding me, gently pulling me forward. The air, if I may call it that, felt heavy but not oppressive, filled with something I can only describe as energy. Suddenly, I was no longer in darkness. A light appeared, distant at first, but growing and becoming brighter. It wasn't just light. It was alive, radiating warmth and love that spread around me like a comforting embrace. As I drew closer, I realized I wasn't walking or flying, but simply being carried, as if the very space itself were moving around me. Soon I sensed a presence. It was overwhelming, powerful beyond words, yet incredibly familiar. Deep in my soul, I knew I was in the presence of something divine. My thoughts were no longer solely my own. They were open, connected to something greater. Then I heard a voice, clear and strong, yet filled with a love that transcends all understanding. "Sophia, you are here because you must see." The voice did not come from outside. It spoke directly inside me, filling every part of my being. It was in that moment that I knew, this is not a dream, nor an hallucination. I had crossed over into a realm beyond life itself. As I advanced in this new existence, I noticed something strange. Time did not exist there. There was no past or future, only an eternal now. I was traveling, yet at the same time I was not moving. I was floating, yet remaining anchored. The space around me moved like liquid, but it wasn't chaotic. Everything occurred deliberately, following a rhythm I still did not understand. Then I realized I was not alone. Silhouettes, figures, beings of light moved in the distance. They were not human, but they were not entirely unknown either. I could feel them watching me, not with judgment, but with a silent understanding, as if they had been waiting for me. One of them drew near. I couldn't see a face, but I felt its presence. It radiated warmth, wisdom, and an unfathomable peace. The being communicated not with words, but through thoughts, emotions, pure understanding. "You are ready to see." With these words, the space around me transformed. The darkness dissipated, revealing something beyond comprehension. I saw the earth, but not as I knew it. It was enveloped in waves of energy, in colors that do not exist in our world, in threads of light connecting everything: people, places, even thoughts. I saw prayers traveling like beams, some reaching their destinations, others fading before arriving. Then, I saw a crack in the energy, a war between light and darkness, a struggle that had been unfolding long before time began. Then he appeared. The light intensified, gathering into a single, radiant form. My soul recognized him before my mind could process it. It was Jesus. He was not just a figure, nor an image from paintings or stories. He was more real than anything I had ever known. He was not limited to being in front of me. He was everywhere. His presence filled the entire space, and at the same time, he was there with me, looking at me as if I were the only soul in existence. His eyes, not just eyes, held galaxies, eternity itself. They contained a love so infinite that I felt completely known and yet completely safe. "Sophia," he said, and my entire being responded as if hearing my name for the first time. I fell to my knees, if I still had them, and my soul bowed before him, not out of obligation, but because no other response was possible. "You were brought here for a reason," he said. "There are truths that the world needs to know." I could not speak, but I did not need to. He understood every question, every thought. Then he raised his hand, and the space around us changed. Images formed, visions unfolding like a living tapestry. "Look," he said, "and what I am about to show you will change everything you thought you knew." The moment Jesus raised his hand, the space around us transformed. It was as if the very universe folded in on itself, revealing layers of reality I had never imagined. I was no longer in darkness. I found myself in a place of pure radiance, beyond all that the human mind could comprehend. The colors were richer, deeper, and more vibrant. They moved and pulsed with a rhythm, almost as if they were singing. The air was filled with peace, yet electrified with something indescribable. I saw structures not made of stone or any earthly material, but woven from light itself. They were not merely buildings. They were alive, existing in perfect harmony with everything around them. Rivers of golden energy flowed through that realm, not water, but something much greater, something that carried life, knowledge, and divine truth. I turned to Jesus, and his countenance radiated love. He wanted me to understand, to see beyond my limited human perspective. As I admired the beauty around me, I felt something deeper, something that pulled at my soul. This place, this realm, was not distant from the earth. It was connected closer than we think. I realized that it was not merely a realm for the afterlife. It was a place to which we all belong, even while we are alive. As I absorbed these revelations, I became aware of the presence of other beings moving in that realm. They shone like the sun, their forms made of pure energy. Some appeared as warriors, strong and powerful, guardians of that sacred space. Others emanated such intense wisdom that their very presence exuded knowledge that stretched beyond time. These were angels, messengers of God, and they watched us not with judgment, but with deep love and expectation, as if they had been waiting for me. Standing before Jesus was like being in the presence of eternity itself. He was not just a figure of light, he was the source of that light. His presence was not limited to what the eyes could see. It was felt in every fiber of my being. His voice was not merely heard, it resonated within me, filling me with an understanding that words could never capture. He extended his hand, and in doing so, I felt every burden I had carried dissolve, every fear, every doubt, every moment of suffering, everything melted away in his presence. Nothing was hidden from him. He knew me completely and yet loved me profoundly. Then he spoke, "Sophia, I have called you here so that you may see, so that you may understand, and so that you may carry this message back to my people." I trembled not with fear but with admiration. "What should I do, Lord?" I asked, even though I could not form the words. Jesus looked at me, and in his eyes were galaxies. "You must tell them what is to come and reveal who they are." His words carried weight, not merely as instructions, but as truths woven into the very fabric of existence. Then the space around us changed again. As Jesus spoke, visions unfolded before my eyes. I saw the earth not as a physical planet, but as a vast network of energy, light, and movement. Every human life, every action, every thought created ripples in that unseen realm. I saw how faith, love, and kindness strengthened the light, while fear, hatred, and division fueled the darkness. Jesus raised his hand once more, and suddenly I could see human history laid out before me, not just as events, but as spiritual movements. I saw civilizations rising and falling, each leaving a lasting imprint on the spiritual fabric of the world. I saw the prayers of the faithful creating ripples that extended far beyond their own lives. Then Jesus looked at me with an indescribable intensity. "Sophia, many have forgotten the truth about their origins, but I am here to remind them," he said. Then he showed me something startling. A group of people gathered together, radiating an inner light. These were Black people, and their presence in that spiritual realm was unlike anything I had seen before. They carried a unique energy, a deep and unyielding connection with the divine. Their prayers were like fire burning away the darkness, creating pathways of light where there had once been none. I watched as their faith moved mountains in that spiritual realm. I saw their struggles, the oppression they faced throughout history, and yet, despite it all, their resilience remained. Their connection with God was unbreakable. Jesus turned to me. They were chosen for a purpose. They carry wisdom and strength passed down from generation to generation, but the world has tried to break them, silence them, make them forget who they truly are. I felt a weight in my heart. How many were taught to believe they were inferior? How many were led to think that they were not divinely created for something greater? They need to remember. They are my warriors, my voice, my light in a dark world, Jesus said. I remained silent, absorbing what he had revealed. It wasn't just history, it was a divine calling. Black people received a spiritual mission, a mission that the enemy desperately tried to erase. Jesus continued, his voice laden with sorrow and urgency. The world tried to change them, not only in body but also in spirit. They were made to believe they were weak, but I say, they are strong. They were made to be my chosen ones. I saw more visions. I saw Black ancestors crying out in prayer, their words forming shields of protection over generations. I saw their resilience in the face of unimaginable suffering, their faith acting as a force of light against spiritual darkness. Every tear shed, every hymn sung, every hand raised in praise wove a powerful spiritual legacy. That faith is their inheritance, and it must never be forgotten. Jesus' words were etched into my soul. If Black people possess such a divine connection, why did they suffer so much? Why was history so cruel to them? Jesus looked at me, and in an instant I understood. The enemy fears what they carry. He tried to destroy them because of that calling. I saw another vision. I saw how Black people were scattered, enslaved, and oppressed throughout history. But in the spiritual realm, I saw something even deeper. Every difficulty was a direct attack on their divine purpose. They were made to be leaders, healers, warriors of faith. But the enemy used fear, division, and deceit to keep them from rising. I saw systems created to break them: poverty, violence, racism, and spiritual disconnection. The world tried to convince them that they were powerless, but in truth they possessed one of the greatest spiritual strengths. Jesus showed me something more. Even in the darkest moments of history, there were always those who prayed, who held on to faith. Their prayers acted as barriers, preventing the enemy from achieving his goal. But now, Jesus said, the time is coming when they will need to see the truth. As I watched the visions unfold, I began to understand why prayer has always been such a powerful force in Black communities. Jesus extended his hand, and suddenly I saw prayers flowing like rivers of light through the spiritual realm. Some were weak, almost imperceptible, while others burned brightly like fire. The most powerful prayers, the ones that cut through the darkness, came from those who prayed with complete conviction, from those who had been tested by adversity. These, Jesus said, are the reason why the enemy has never been able to destroy them completely. I saw small, humble churches filled with people singing and praising, their voices united in harmony. I saw individuals kneeling alone in the quiet of their homes, whispering words of faith in the darkness. Each of those prayers was a weapon, forming an invisible shield that protected generations. But many have forgotten, Jesus said, that the distractions of this world made them lose focus. They need to return to true prayer. Then he showed me what happens when prayer is lost. I saw communities falling into despair, spiritual barriers weakening, allowing darkness to seep in. It wasn't about religion, but about connection with God, about staying aligned with the divine purpose. Jesus' voice was filled with urgency. They must awaken and pray like never before. Then Jesus showed me something that deeply moved me. I saw the spiritual war taking place right now, a battle between forces of light and darkness. At first, I did not understand what I was seeing. I saw cities shrouded in shadows, but then I perceived something deeper. There were forces at work that human eyes could not see. Dark figures moved among people, whispering lies, sowing seeds of division, fueling hatred and despair. These are not merely physical struggles, Jesus said. The battle is spiritual. I watched as some people, without realizing it, gave power to the darkness through anger, despair, and turning away from faith. But then I saw something different. Points of light scattered across the world, places where people prayed, where faith was strong. Those places pushed back the darkness, creating safe havens. Jesus looked at me and said, "That is why prayer is important. That is why they must awaken." I saw something even more terrifying. Dark forces attacking Black people specifically, trying to prevent them from remembering who they truly are. They were attacked in every way, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. But even amid all that, I saw warriors rising. Some did not yet know they had been chosen, but something inside them was already beginning to awaken. Jesus' voice was strong. They must claim their place. They must rise. He looked at me with eyes full of love and urgency. "You must tell them. Time is short." Jesus' words resonated throughout my being. Black people must claim their place. They must rise. I felt a weight, not as a burden, but as a profound responsibility. The vision before me became clearer, revealing the divine calling upon Black people, a calling that the world has tried to suppress. I saw people rising, shaking off the chains of doubt and fear, embracing their purpose. Their eyes shone with clarity, as if they were finally remembering who they are. Jesus turned to me with a firm gaze. They were not made to follow, but to lead. I do not know how long I remained in that realm, but when Jesus spoke again, I knew that my time there was coming to an end. "Sophia, you must return," he said. A deep sorrow overwhelmed me. How could I return after seeing all of this? How could I go back to a world that seemed so distant, so blind to what I had witnessed? But Jesus gently placed his hand on my heart, and I felt something flow within me. Peace, understanding, purpose. "You have seen," he said. "Now you must speak." The realm around me began to change. The golden rivers of energy, the angelic figures, the warmth of Jesus' presence, everything started to fade away. I could feel myself being pulled back toward the limits of the physical world. The return was painful. My spirit seemed too vast for my body. My lungs ached as I began to breathe again. The first thing I heard was the beeping of hospital monitors. I could barely move, but I knew I had survived. Doctors and nurses rushed to my side, their voices filled with disbelief. "We lost you for several minutes." One of them said, "But you came back." I knew why I had been brought back. I had a mission. Days passed before I could fully speak about what I had seen. The world felt heavier, slower, as if my spirit had not yet adjusted to being back. But one truth burned within me. I could not remain silent. The world needed to know. Black people needed to know. They are not broken. They are not forgotten. They are warriors, spiritual leaders chosen for these times. I realized that all the struggles, all the pain, all the generational hardships were not signs of weakness, but marks of resilience, proof that they were forged in the fire for a divine purpose. The world told them they were less, but Jesus showed me that they were so much more. I looked around and saw how distractions, false narratives, and fear were used to prevent them from claiming their true power. But the time for illusion was ending. The enemy fears a people who have awakened, and an awakened people will change the world. That is the message I must convey. If you are listening to this, know that you were born for something greater. The prayers of your ancestors still protect you. You are seen, you are chosen, and it is time to rise. Since I returned, I have felt something stirring in the world. It is as if the vision Jesus showed me is already unfolding. I see more people questioning the lies they were told. I see young Black individuals searching for something deeper, something real. I see communities beginning to reconnect despite all that has been done to divide them. This is not an accident. It is the awakening that Jesus spoke of. For too long, a false story was told. A story that said Black people were powerless, that they had no future, that their worth depended solely on what the world allowed them to have. But Jesus showed me the truth. Black people carry a light that cannot be extinguished. They uphold faith in ways that the world does not understand. Their strength does not reside in their suffering, but in their survival. And now surviving is not enough. It is time to thrive. I saw how the enemy tried to keep Black people asleep, with distractions, materialism, false divisions, everything part of a plan to make them forget who they truly are. But something is changing. More and more people are beginning to hear this call. This is not just a movement, it is a prophecy unfolding. I feel it in my own life. My dreams are no longer the same. I see visions, flashes of things I still do not understand, and I know I am not the only one. Many of you are already feeling that inner call, that voice telling you that you were made for something greater. It is not your imagination. It is your spirit remembering what has been forgotten. The awakening has already begun. Jesus made it clear. There is not much time left. When I asked what he meant, he did not give me a number, a date, or a prophecy of destruction. Instead, he showed me something much deeper. I saw doors, countless doors open. Some people were already crossing them, stepping into the light, while others remained still, insecure, fearful, and even more worryingly, some were even walking away, too distracted to notice the opportunity before them. The doors will not remain open forever, Jesus said. I felt an urgency in his words. This was not just about individual salvation, but about something greater, a call, a mission, a change in the world that demands people awaken before it is too late. I saw the consequences of waiting too long. I saw what would happen if too many people refused to listen. Darkness spreading, division growing, spiritual battles being lost simply because people did not realize they were part of the fight. But then I saw something different, a group of people who had completely embraced their purpose, forming a wall against the storm. They were powerful, not because of wealth or status, but because of their faith, because they remembered who they truly were. At the center of them, leading them, were those people whom the world had tried, in every way, to silence, Black people. Jesus looked at me and said, "They must not be afraid. They must cross the door while it is open." When I awoke in the hospital, I felt weak, but I knew the truth. I had been brought back for a reason. In the days that followed, I struggled with the weight of what I had seen. How could one person convince so many of something so grand? How could I make people understand that Jesus himself showed me that Black people were chosen for something greater? Then I remembered his final words before I returned. You don't need to make them believe. You only need to speak the truth, and that is what I'm doing. The choice is now yours. I do not know how many people will listen, nor how many will awaken in time, but I know that if even one person hears this and remembers their true purpose, then it will all have been worth it. You were made for something greater. You were born with a calling. The world tried to break you, but you were never made to be broken. You were made to rise. Time is short. The door is open. Will you cross it? Special messages. For those who bear the letter M on the palm of your hand, if the letter M shines on your palm, receive this sign as a divine gift. This mark symbolizes strength, leadership, and a unique potential to transform not only your life, but also the world around you. It indicates that you possess a special connection with the energy of the universe, capable of healing, inspiring, and lighting the way for those you meet. Stay true to your essence, and know that every challenge is an opportunity to reveal your inner power and fulfill your destiny. For those who bear the crescent moon mark on your hands, if you carry the symbol of the crescent moon on your hands, understand that it is a reminder of the constant transformation and balance that governs life. The crescent moon evokes the eternal cycle of rebirth and the harmonious dance between light and shadow. It invites you to embrace every phase of your existence, recognizing that each moment, whether one of growth or of pause, contributes to your spiritual evolution. May this mark inspire you to seek ancestral wisdom, intuition, and the energy flowing within you, guiding you on a journey filled with love, healing, and renewal. May these messages resonate in your heart, and may the truth revealed to you ignite the flame of transformation. The universe speaks through signs and symbols. Stay alert, for your destiny is grand and your journey is one of light.